Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Hemmings Hot Rod BBQ. I am Mike Musto, together again with Mr.
Dan Stoner.
See how he comes in?
You see, that's
And
dramatic. It's very
it's
dramatic.
dramatic. And Dan will tell you this. He doesn't like the sound of his voice. I
I know.
find it very soothing.
Well, no, I do it like that,
It's-
that doesn't sound bad, right?
it doesn't give me pitter patters in the heart, but I find it
Right,
soothing.
right. It's like when
Nice.
we had Alana Share on, it's like, "The Quiet Storm." Like, you gotta
Yeah,
do the overnight radio voice, the overnight radio guy voice.
exactly. How you doing? How's your week going?
Not bad, man, not bad. It's okay, so it's interesting. This week, as you know, Mike, because you're in the San Francisco Bay Area along with me. I live right in the city of San Francisco, in the city
Yep.
proper. Mike, you live in what
Live in the
we
East Bay.
around here called East Bay, right? Which
Yep.
is literally, for those of you who don't know, the San Francisco Bay is this big giant bowl, and Mike is on the east side, the east coast of
The
the
East
San
Coast.
Francisco Bay. How do you like that?
I like that.
And here in the Bay Area, there are what's called microclimates. So when
Yes.
it's 137,000 degrees at Mike's house in the East Bay, it can be 65 degrees in the city, and we're about 25 miles from each other, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
how
nuts.
that works, right? It's nuts.
Yeah.
So this week, though, I think it's fair to say that we have all been kind of coated with a fine layer of tree ash from all these horrible fires,
Yeah.
right? It's been terrible.
Yeah,
It's
it's been pretty
terrible.
bad. I mean, we live, the fires, it's interesting. If you look at a map of San Francisco where it is, we're kind of surrounded by this kind of ring of fire, so to speak.
Yeah,
And,
right.
when you talk about like air quality and stuff, like you
Yeah.
look outside and there's this kind of gray, dusty haze.
Yeah, all over everything.
Um, and that's because Northern California is literally on fire right now.
Literally on fire, which is absolutely atrocious, and it's sad. And we've seen this before. I think it's been on the national news too,
Yeah.
where you'll see these horrific images of garages where you can see a bunch of old collector cars in a garage and there's just gone, right?
That's correct.
It's just
Yeah.
terrible.
So, this week, Dan and I have we've been dealing with a couple of fires and, you know, um, kind of saying our little prayers for everybody that's out there that's dealing
That's
with this.
for
We hope you
sure.
guys are okay.
And what's the
Um,
one little weird sort of anomaly, that one little weird thing I notice about these fires, and this isn't the first time. It's California, right? We have
right.
forest fires. This is not, this is our hurricanes. This is our floods, because that's the natural disaster that unfortunately that we suffer from out here. But when these things happen, I will tell you to if there's anything kind of, I would say, a little more lighthearted about this tragic, period of time that find ourselves in the midst of, is that as car guys, our
Mhm.
cars, especially the ones we park outside, get coated with a layer of white dust all over it,
Yes.
right? So as car guys too, and especially as owners of dark cars and black cars like I am, you park these cars, we park them on the street here in the city, and there are a precious few do-it-yourself car washes here in the city, right?
Yeah.
And one of them is, we call it's kind of like on the edge of town, and it's the one that there's only 3 bays to the entire thing. It's a completely 100% do it yourself, right?
Yep.
And I kid you not, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a bright and sunny day, it's 12 deep just to get into one of these
Sure.
3 bays, right? You'll wait 45 minutes to an hour just to do a 25-minute car wash. That's the entire experience, right?
Sure.
Well, now with the ash all over everything, I thought, I'm going to take the car down there. I've got to
Get there early.
get there early, right? I've got a 2010 Chrysler 300 SRT8, which I
Yep.
love to the ends of
Mhm.
the ends of the earth. And I'm going to take this thing down there, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to go through the do-it-yourself car wash, but I'm going to be smart about this, and I'm going to get there at like 5:30 in the morning, because at 5:30 in the morning the sun's just coming up, right?
Yep.
You can see, and this car wash is, let's say, sparse at best with the
Sure.
amenities. So there aren't really any lights on down there. So I'm going to get there right when the sun comes up, and I'll get there easy enough. I'll get in, get out. I'll be back home and by the time the coffee maker's done brewing, long before the wife gets up out of bed. This will be great. So I get up, set the alarm, get down there. I kid you not, Mike, 12 deep at 5:30 in
Yeah.
the morning. At
Yeah. That
5:30 in the morning. What the?
It
And
doesn't
honestly,
surprise me.
they're contractor trucks. These guys don't need to be washing their trucks. It's contractor trucks and like really old conversion vans where like the sunroof was open and it rained in it for 16 years. It's like there's
Yeah.
no need for this. And a matter of fact, the one guy with the conversion van, I kid you not, I saw him slide open the side door and take that hose wand, the pressure washer, and just plow out the inside of his van with this thing. I can't imagine what that thing smells like inside.
Yeah, I think that you got to be smart about washing your car. And if you're blasting the inside, whatever it is with a
With
pressure
all that
washer,
like 35-year-old upholstery, like you don't wanna
yeah,
know in that shag rug, you don't wanna know what happened in there anyway, and he
no,
was just hosing that thing out with a pressure washer. It was
yeah, no,
nuts.
you're rolling in a wet dog at that point.
I
So,
can't even yeah.
well, hopefully,
What happened in your life? What went wrong in your life where you're
I
driving a
know.
conversion van around, right? And you're hosing
Well,
out the inside with a pressure washer.
I yeah, there are certain. I don't know if I want to know the answer to that question with a lot of people.
We'll let the mind wander.
Well, we'll see. Well, I'll tell
Yeah,
you, I think again, we're all dealing with the fires up here.
yeah.
One of the things we want to do is let's talk about some automobiles. Let's talk about what is happening on this episode of the Hot Rod BBQ.
Yeah.
So, on this episode, this is kind of fun. So, Dan and I are going to talk about um, the 2020 Mercedes-Benz AMG GT. Now, this is
Ooh,
Mercedes high-end kind of two-seater super car.
right.
After that, I picked a really kind of slick car out of the classifieds, which somebody might like or somebody might not, but we'll see. I want to get Dan's opinion on this.
See what happens,
And
yeah.
then we've got Pat Devereux, who's the new owner of Petrolicious. Now, for those of you who don't know about Petrolicious, Petrolicious is an online car site that really kind of caters to very kind of high-end eclectic automobiles. We're talking about cars like a Lancia Stratos or,
Stuff you
kind of
can't spell, right? Like stuff you just have no
yeah,
you're gonna get it wrong the first 3 times you try.
Lamborghini Urracos and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
be beautifully shot videos, really well done storytelling. I've known Pat for years. I started the House of Muscle with him. Really great friend and all around good guy. So, we're going to tune in with him in a few. But before we do that, it's Mercedes-Benz AMG GTR. Now, I had the GTR.
You had the
Dan
R.
had the
I had
GTC.
the C, right.
Now, this car is this is what you think of when you think of, at least what I think of Mercedes. Twin turbo, just kind of guttural sounding macho V8,
Right.
right? Four-wheel steering, 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. It'll go close to 200 miles an hour. This thing is a hammer. Now, the GTC, Dan, explain your
Yeah.
experience with that car, right?
This
Because
thing
yours
yeah,
you're
it's all motor, really. It's just
yeah,
basically like if you can imagine like what Cruella de Vil might drive in 2019 or 2020, like that's what this thing is, right? It's like this
right.
big long, just one long hood with a little
Yeah.
canopy. You jam yourself in it. It's a two-seater.
Yeah.
There is a trunk. There's technically a trunk in it.
Kinda. It's a
There's
hatchback, so
it's
you
a
can fit some
hatchback.
stuff.
Right, you can fit a couple little things in there. It's one of those cars that was if this thing was built in the '30s, it would have luggage matched for it because nothing practical fits in that thing, right?
Right,
But practical is not what this car is about, right? So,
right.
like, this thing mine was I forget what the technical color, technically n the name of the color is, but it's like a deep blood red, which was a pretty cool color,
Ooh,
which was
okay.
neat. I will tell you, that thing attracted attention wherever it went, and by the way, like I said earlier, I live in the city. This is a $180,000 sticker, and I park these things on the street. So,
Yeah,
so like when I get these press cars, so that's kind of funny. So I wake up in the morning and I go out and to test drive this thing. Well, I'll call it a test drive.
sure.
And there's 7 neighbors who I've never met before, all walking their dogs, standing around this car, waiting for someone to come out and maybe open the thing up, right? Which I
Right.
unluckily did, and had to answer a bunch of questions that I had no answers, actually 4, which is kind of
Of
funny. Like,
course.
look, I'm just gonna go drive this thing right now, and it is absolutely hands down a midlife crisis machine. That's what this thing is. It's a beautiful car, engineered amazingly, right? I mean, it's a bi-turbo 4-liter, I believe. I think it's a 4-liter.
Yeah, it's
Is that
4-liter
right?
bi-turbo V8. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, all motor. I love the fact that you can actually with just a push of a button change the exhaust note
Oh yeah.
to make it start rumbling, or
Yeah.
go into that econo mode where it shuts itself off at stoplights.
Hmm.
A little demasculating, I will say.
You know,
Right?
these things I had the R, right? And the
You had the
R
R.
is, yeah, 577 horsepower, 516 pound-feet of torque.
Yeah.
And we did about 300 miles in it, my wife and I, this weekend. And this thing is a hammer. Now,
Yeah.
as somebody who has raced cars in the past and currently races cars and stuff like that, this is to me what a proper AMG car is like. Because they a lot of times, like Mercedes now, I feel like they're slapping AMG badges on cars, but they're not following through with it. Meaning, like, yes, it's an
Yeah,
AMG
right.
badge, but it doesn't feel like what I think of as an AMG, right?
Like,
Which
you
is
wanna
just,
know where your money went, right? Like, if
oh
you're
yeah,
getting
yeah,
behind the wheel, you wanna know where that extra 2 zeros that equals AMG went
that's right.
when you
That's
bought,
right.
right? Yeah.
And this thing it's ungodly fast. It's got a 7-speed transmission, dual clutch that you could shift manually. It is the four-wheel steering, I'm not gonna lie, it takes a little while to get used to, because what happens
Right.
is if you drive the car aggressively, pitch it into a corner, you feel like the ass wants to is like, all right, I'm catching up, and it almost feels like it's gonna come out on you. But but then you realize you're like, oh, I just went around this corner much faster than I originally thought. And so
Yes.
it's not a car that you can drive at 5/10. This car comes alive at 8/10, 9/10, and it's probably one of the best AMG cars I've driven in a long time. Is it a midlife crisis car? Yes and no. If you buy it as your only car, it's a midlife crisis car. Is it
Does
right? If
anyone
you
buy this as their only car?
Well, I hope not. Like, this to me,
Yeah,
I look at this and I'm like, this is a third car or a
yeah.
fourth car. I'm driving my big Mercedes S-Class during the day, but if I go to the track on the weekends with my buddies, this is my track hammer. And dude, it sounds so
It
good.
does, it does. I will tell you, I actually was, doing a little bit of recording with this, and I got this thing up to a speed that I realized my GoPro automotive suction cup
Yeah.
apparatus setup just couldn't hold on any longer to. So I lost the
Yeah.
camera on
Yeah.
the
And
freeway.
but I like that. I like the fact that
Yeah.
AMG is back in. They're building these cars the way that they
It's a
should be
neat
built.
car.
Yeah. So
It's a great car to drive.
yeah, a lot of fun.
It really is.
Um, so now I want to go to this. This is kind of fun. So every week, Dan and I each pick a car from the Hemmings Classifieds. And if you don't know, we've got 30,000 cars in this thing, in the largest online classified section in the world. Um, Last time, Dan picked this really cool kind of cosmic green tea bucket, right? Now, if
Yes.
you know Dan and myself, that's in his wheelhouse. My wheelhouse is a little different.
Right.
So,
Right.
Dan, I want your opinion on this. So this week, I picked get this, 1988 Lamborghini Jalpa. Any idea what
Jalpa.
that is?
I never saw one of these things before, and I had to look at the way this word is spelled. It's Jalpa, right?
Yes. So
So
I
if
think
you're Italian, which I know, Mike, you are,
I am.
how do you actually pronounce Jalpa in Italy?
Jalpa. Jalpa.
Yalpa?
Yeah.
Yalpa.
Lamborghini Jalpa.
That is
So
very that's very dramatic. When you
dude,
even
well,
saying it like that, it's very
it's
dramatic.
Italian. You have
Yeah.
to. So
Yeah, oh, but
the, this car, piece of trivia for those that don't know, Rocky Balboa actually drove a Lamborghini Jalpa in Rocky 2. After he had beaten up Apollo Creed, this was one of the cars. His wife drove an old 300 ZX. He, of course, drove the Lamborghini. It's pretty great.
right.
But this is one of those cars where it's kind of like the unloved Lamborghini. It's really cool. It's got a horizontal V8 in it, 3.5 liters. It's only about 200 and I think it's 260, 255 horsepower, something like that. So by today's standards, not a rocket ship, but it's very 1980s in the way that it's very angular, and the way that
Yeah.
this particular one that we found in the classifieds, it red with these phone dial wheels that are very reminiscent of the phone dials on the Countach.
Well, it's funny you said Countach, Mike, because when I think Lamborghini as a kid of the 80s,
Yeah.
who had enough wall space for posters, that Lamborghini Countach poster from Miami Vice, right?
Mhm.
That's what we all had on our walls. And we thought someday, if I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it in this thing, right? That means
Well, remember
making,
that
right?
the Countach, you're talking about the Testarossa.
No, I meant the
Top.
no, the Lamborghini Countach. You know, that
In
crazy
Miami
looking
Vice?
thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That, well, it wasn't like he didn't drive one of those, but it was in a couple episodes. It was like
Oh,
I
okay.
think you know, some drug dealer drove it or
I
whatever.
have a feeling it was
There were
probably
a
like the
couple
car Phil
episodes.
Collins drove when he guest starred that episode or something like that.
Yeah, could it was it Phil maybe? Yeah, I think it might maybe it was Phil. I have to go back. They're all on Stars right now, so I got to go back and rewatch those, you know. But that was the poster we all had on the walls, right? Then I saw
Yeah.
this thing, the Jalpa, right? I
Yeah.
saw that and like, wow, this is like the refined Lamborghini that I would probably actually want right now.
Right.
As a
Right.
guy who is, I'm not going to say I made it yet, but I will say that if I'm going to buy something like this was the one I would actually want to drive around in, and my wife would actually let me drive her in.
Right.
You know, the
Yeah, I feel like
Countach,
it's
she looked like,
no.
no, I'm not right. I'm not getting in that thing.
No, you
Right.
think I'm gonna get in that car with a skirt on? What are you, crazy?
Right, exactly. Ooh, look at the loft
But
over there.
did your microphone just fall off?
It just did. Did you hear that? This whole thing fell apart.
Dan just had an equipment failure. The microphone
Yeah,
literally just
sure
toppled over.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's you know, it's cars like this. It's funny. I saw one of these at Pebble Beach a couple of years ago, and I was talking to the owner, and I said, "How do you like this car?" And he looked at me and kind of sighed. He was like, "Man, you have to really want to own this car." And I was, I go, "What do you mean?" He goes,
Is
I
that
said,
code
"Well,
for something? Does that mean
yeah."
something? Yeah.
He said there were only, I think, 400 built or 415 built. So he said every single one is different. He goes, there's no service manual.
Ah,
He goes,
right.
all the wiring is different. Everything is completely different. And I was
Oh,
like,
you're
well, man,
kidding.
yeah, this is a beautiful example. And I was like, this is one of my favorite cars. As he gets in and turns the key, and this is during Pebble Beach week, he starts to drive away. The headlights pop up in the front. I run up. I go, my man. I go, you don't have any taillights. He goes, God damn it. He's like,
No
that's
taillights.
what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, like, right at that moment, that was all I ever needed to know about the ownership experience of a
Right.
Jalpa. Like, he
Right.
was like, there's always something that's messed up on this car. Like, there's never a
Wow.
day where it's 100% perfect. That does not change the fact that I would buy one tomorrow if I could afford it, which you can't, but I'd like to.
Yeah.
But just
Hey,
a
just the
cool
fact
overall car.
Hey, and just the fact that you said that you can own one of these things and stuff like that will happen makes me want to buy it right now anyway. Because I just have this weird, I've got like, I don't know, I've got some personality disorder where the more strange or more expensive or more obscure the car and or part is, the more I
Yeah.
have to have it, you
Yeah.
know?
Same
Yeah.
thing.
If
Same
it's more
thing.
ridiculous, yeah. If it's more arcane, more, impractical to own or use, I have to have it that much more. Right.
Well, so this is good because I think you and I both like these eclectic stuff. But
Yeah.
so this is going to bring me into our guest that's coming on in a few moments, Mr. Pat Devereux from Petrolicious, because this is the exact kind of car that I think Pat would feature. And I want to know if he did.
Oh,
So,
without a doubt. You're right.
guys, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back with Pat Devereux from Petrolicious. So hang tight. We'll be right back.
I just thought of something, man. Do you know who actually has more parts for sale than even Hemmings? And when I say more parts, I mean millions of parts. Do you know who that might be?
Are you alluding to somebody else has
I
more
am.
parts than us? Are we talking like millions of parts from maybe
Millions
over
of parts.
1,500 different manufacturers?
Yeah, and not just over 1,500 manufacturers, but parts for things like performance cars and hot rods and racing and even restoration parts. Restoration parts, Michael.
Are we talking about?
Restoration parts.
So they have stuff for paint, body supplies, and they also have like tools that I can use to paint my car.
Tools. Okay, now we're getting close, and I'm gonna give you one last clue.
Huh.
Fast and free shipping on anything over $99 orders. That's
So
got to
you're telling me
That's got to.
you're telling me all I have to do is spend a mere $99 to get my stuff to almost
Free.
anywhere in the continental United States, and on top of that, I will get top-notch service. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, yes to all of those things. All of the above is one big giant fat yes. Do you guess? I want you to take one guess who this might be. Who are we
Man.
talking about?
I mean, I've used companies in
know.
the past, and many of those companies have never, ever lived up to what we
No,
just talked about.
It's rare. You'll never find another one. Who might that be?
Let me ask you one more thing.
Okay, one more.
If I am not 100% satisfied with these products, the prices and the services, will I get my money back, Dan? Will I?
You will get your money back before you even send them an email or place a slightly angry phone call. The money's already there.
It's already there?
When you just think that you might want to return something.
Well, you know what? I'm going to take a guess. And even though that last part might not be 100% correct, but it's pretty close to correct,
right?
I'm going to go with Summit Racing.
Oh, it's like you read my mind.
It's crazy, right?
It's like you read my mind. I barely had to say anything, and you knew it was Summit.
It came to me.
Summit.
I knew this.
That's right. Summit Racing, 1,500 plus manufacturers, millions of parts, free shipping over $99. And on top of that, Mike, and I'm going to blow your mind with this one, their absolute 100% handshake guarantee. You know what that means?
Wow.
Okay, what that means, sit down for this.
I got it. I'm
is that if you're not 100% happy with anything that they do for you and vice versa, money back guarantee.
Why would you go anywhere else?
You do not go anywhere else. That's the whole thing about Summit. They are built to not go anywhere else. Once you enter the Summit universe, you never have to leave. Just bring a blanket, bring a lunch, and never leave. That's what Summit Racing is all about. It's summitracing.com. You go, you thank us for sending you there, and you send us some free stuff after you place your order. Because here's the last thing, Mike. All you have to do, I kid you not, just think about Summit and your parts show up. That's how fast this stuff gets to you.
This is what I've been dreaming about my whole life.
I'm worn out. Okay.
Long day.
I guess we better get back to the show.
Yeah, we get back to the show. Cool. All right, and we're back. So, guys, welcome back to the Hot Rod BBQ. Obviously, Mr. Stoner is with us, and we have one of my favorite people, a Mr. Pat Devereux of what you are of many, many things, right, Pat?
True. It's true. Yeah, many things. But the latest thing is, of course,
Petrolicious.
Ooh, Petrolicious.
Petrolicious. So I don't know if people were aware, but the previous owner of Petrolicious had posted a rather interesting statement online, which kind of got him shamed which it probably should have. Pat saw an interesting opportunity, came in and basically saved Petrolicious as a brand, which is wonderful. So Pat, do me a favor and just take us through how that worked. Yeah. What made you say I should probably jump in here?
Well, I mean, look, I'm still slightly in shock myself. I mean, I've only owned it for like a couple of weeks, so I'm still working out the whole thing. We got given. I mean, he exercised his First Amendment rights to say what he liked, and
it's a good way of putting it.
And then everyone else exercised their right to comment on that, and it led to some fairly dramatic circumstances for everybody concerned. Yes. So he decided to exit. I knew him, and I just thought, I've always respected Petrolicious. From the outside, it's always looked like a really great brand.
Yeah.
The drive thing, and the films are amazing. And like Mike, you and I have made plenty of films together.
Yeah.
We always say maybe we can look at a little bit Petrolicious-y.
Right.
We actually we like the fact that the way it's presented, super classy, and I just thought, maybe maybe this is something I should look at. And again, when opportunity presents itself, you give it a go. So I said to him, I said, hey, we were talking about something. I said, if you want to jump, maybe there's something we can do. And he said, really? And I said, yeah, maybe, And he's like, oh, okay, in which case, let's go. And it suddenly got real very quickly. And so suddenly I'm in the middle of it all, and had 2 weeks of due diligence, which you think sounds like a lot if you think you're not doing anything else, but actually, it's a 7-year-old business that's being created by a husband and wife team and a bunch of freelancers around the world and in the office and stuff. And so to only have 2 weeks to sort through everything wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough.
So
you know, so
how big of a hash was
still
it?
sorting through it, right?
dude, I'm still doing the due diligence now after I bought it, which is kind of crazy. So,
Okay.
you know, there are some pleasant surprises, but there are quite a few sort of landmines in there as well. You know?
That's a good way of putting it.
Because, you know,
So well, let me ask you this. So prior to Petrolicious, right? So give everybody an idea of how you got into the automotive space, because I don't think a lot of people understand how instrumental you were in Top Gear. When we talk Top Gear, right, we're talking about Clarkson, Hammond, like the original Top Gear, but the franchise as a whole, right? You've been there for how long?
I mean, crazy length of time, since 91. Yeah.
And when did the brand start?
Well, no, the brand started in 77.
Okay.
And because you have to remember that, you know, the BBC is a license payer model where people, you know, pay $250 a year and then they basically the programming is free and there's no advertising on it. So that's how they do it. So because they have a public charter, you know, the BBC is effectively part of the government or the civil service. So they have a public charter to produce shows that are for the people, right? And so in 1977, someone said, you know, we should be doing a show about motoring cars because our general public buys these cars. And so rather than, it was not supposed to be entertainment at all. This was more a sort of news program about the new Ford Anglia or, you know, the Austin Maxi or the Morris Marina or something like that. And so they had very dry, tweed-suited newsreaders, you know, talking very clipped British tones about cars and saying, yes, this is the new Austin 835. It's available for 10 guineas and it has 3 forward gears and 1 reverse and it's available now. You know, and then they do a very rudimentary test. And it became sort of, it grew up and it went through various different phases after that. And, you know, obviously Jeremy joined it, which was the first spark of change, if you will.
Right.
And then, and then it just sort of went from there. And I joined the whole thing in 91 and it just sort of grew and grew after that. And, you know, did a magazine first, which everyone thought was going to be absolutely awful because the show was awful. You know, it looked awful. So it's like, well, clearly we even did a dummy magazine, which was awful. So we left it around so people could see it to sort of make people think that it was going to be really awful. And then we did the real one and that worked out really well.
Right.
And then it just sort of grew from there. So it grew through something called a website, which someone said, well, that'll never last.
Right, of course. Yeah.
Web stuff.
That'll never last. You know, oh, when are people just going to get back to magazines and books? For goodness sake.
Right.
You know, so, and that went on. And that actually, what was very interesting about the traffic of that is it sort of grew quite quickly. But then Hammond had his accident in the rocket car. Do you remember?
I do, where he almost got killed.
Yeah, I mean, he should have been killed, frankly. If he'd been an inch taller, he would have been dead. And and then the traffic just hockey sticked and then stayed there and just carried on.
So was that accident one of you? And this sounds awful to say, but was it one of the catalysts to the show's success? Like these guys are actually doing like shit that's that dangerous and that crazy?
Well, I think what it showed was that it was in the public's consciousness. And that's the thing. Top Gear became, you know, not just England's favorite show, it became the world's favorite show at one point, which was news to everybody when it suddenly hit 350 million viewers around the world. You know, crazy. Which is insane. I mean, it overtook Baywatch.
Right.
What? That was, oh, come on, man. Now, see, I was believing you up until now.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, the surprise was no greater to everyone there than it was to everyone outside as well. So
bigger than the Hoff. Is that what you're saying, Pat? Bigger than the Hoff.
Jeremy is more appealing than the Hoff. That's right.
That doesn't sound right at all.
So when
Mike's frozen.
Oh, Mike froze on us. Hey, you know, and while he's frozen, I'll ask you a little bit more about that because I have always been probably that, you know, I'm the rest of the 3% of the world that never really watched Top Gear, you know. So like when I finally did see it, and funny enough, I actually saw it it's going to sound ridiculous, but I saw it in Tahiti years ago. And when I was there, I actually watched Top Gear for the very first time. And I binged like 17 episodes of it all at once. And it was all in French. And I don't speak French, but in French, it all made sense to me because I'm watching these three guys, you know, these these 3 old white guys for the first time, like, and I'm watching 17 episodes of this thing in a hotel room while my wife was out competing in a Tahitian dance competition. So watching this stuff in French, as you do, and watching it all in French, you know, it kind of like, okay, now I kind of get it. Although that was a very strange experience for me, you know, but all of a sudden I'm like, okay, well, now I understand 350 million people, you know?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's some curious, well, not curious once you know it, because it has such universal appeal.
Yeah.
Everyone would think it's a guys program, right? You think, yeah, it's about cars, it's about fast things.
Yeah.
It's going to be 95% guys. No, the viewership is 50% female.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, the show itself was, I mean, like I could sit down. I mean, Pat, you know, Aisha, obviously, you know, my wife, I could sit down with her and she was just like, this is really good. Like I could watch this. This is fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
so,
and you know why it is? Because it's written for a 10-year-old boy.
Right? Is that the formula?
Is that the so that explains Clarkson, basically.
It explains everything if you think about it, right? Because 10-year-old boys, when they're 11, they're obnoxious. When they're 10, they're not. Right. And when they're 10, you know, even their sisters quite like them up until the age of 10, but then 11, they're obnoxious. Then mothers like them because it's like boys of 10 are charming and stupid and not offensive. And guys like them because we're still 10 years old as well.
That's a great
That's very true.
Very enlightening.
So it's a great family show.
Yeah,
it's a great family show.
Yeah. Never thought about it like that.
What do you think of how, because I mean, Hammond, May, and Clarkson, they really kind of, they were like lightning in a bottle. Like those 3 personalities just clicked and the banter that they had was amazing. So now you've got the new cast, which honestly, I aside from Chris Harris, I don't know who the other guys are. And aside from, you know, the Top Gear America, that's gone through different versions. So how do you think the brand is doing? Is the public perception still the same, or is it skewed right now? Is it getting skewed?
I mean, yeah, I mean, you have to remember Top Gear sort of grew up in it was like one of one. It was the original big, you know, the OG car show, if you will, or the car entertainment show at least. And now you've got millions of other channels going on. And then I think when the separation, we should call it, happened of the original 3 going to Amazon, that did make a huge dent, And that, you know, and again, with social media being what it is, that'll never go away. I mean, you can still read comments like, bring back Clarkson, bring back Hammond, bring back, you know, it's just still, it never goes away. But, you know, I think it's one of those things where you should be super thankful for the years you did have, not be regretting the years you haven't had. And, and I think in many ways, those were the best years. And it's kind of great. Like, I'm a big punk rock fan. You know, they always like to finish on a high note. I think that finished on a terrifically high note, you know, and, you know, and then going over to the Grand Tour, it's a different show, the same but different. You know, it's done its job. It's run its course. I think it was a really good time to make a break. It was a shame the way it happened, and there's an awful lot of disinformation around that, which we won't get into here. But you know, I think it was a shame, but it was very timely. And my God, they made out like bandits. I mean, $250 million to go to Amazon. They wouldn't have got that cash at the BBC. So you know,
sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, right. So I mean, you know, you have to leave sometime. What's better than get Jeff Bezos to give you, you know, $250 million to go and do exactly what you like doing? You know, it works for me.
Yeah, not terrible.
Now Jeremy's got a farm and he's becoming a farming correspondent in England. He is. He's doing a farming show. Yeah, Farmer Jeremy. Yeah, and he hosts Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Okay.
You know, and then James does his shows about stuff that he likes.
Right.
Which James things and Hammond's doing his,
So Pat, are you leading up to dropping like a whole Clarkson and like, you know, America's Next Top Model show coming out? Is that what he's doing next? Is that on the horizon, man?
No. I think that's one of those things. And I mean, Mike summed it up perfectly. You know, it was lightning in a bottle that first time. You can never cast that in.
Yeah.
You know, that was a happy accident. That was one of those things that you just happens once in a lifetime, and that's actually, I think, one of the challenges for all the people who buy the format in different territories, like in the US. You know, Discovery's got it. The challenge is don't try and recreate that. Don't try and create the 3. You know, that isn't part of the format. The format is 3 people cocking around with cars. That's what it is.
Right.
and having adventures together. It's like a sort of buddy movie or a road movie or something like that. But don't try and slavishly copy the format. I know you bought the logo and you want to make it exactly like the thing, but we've seen all of that, and you can't be better than that. So actually just do your own thing and have your own fun. It'll be much better. And that's, I think that's the way forward. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So I think for a lot of people out there, so just to give you guys some background. So I met Pat, God, it's got to go on almost 10 years ago now.
At 200 miles an hour.
At 200 miles. Yeah. So I met Pat. We were on this, I think it's when the Hellcat, it was maybe 2014, right? Something like that, when the Hellcat Chargers came out, and Dodge had this crazy, it was the best press launch I've ever been on, where we started in Dallas and we drove to
Dallas.
SEMA, right?
That's right.
And so
we saw who was the act we saw?
Motley Crue.
Motley Crue, that was it. Yeah.
Motley Crue.
That's it.
Motley Crue had, this is when Richard Rawlings was in his kind of gas monkey phase, whatever. And we actually saw Motley Crue perform. Then they gave us Hellcat Chargers, Challengers, and Vipers. And we drove to SEMA on some of the most picturesque back roads in the world. So
flat out.
When I had, in what?
Flat out.
Flat out. So it was, I had heard that we were going to do this. And I was like, well, I'm obviously going to bring a radar detector. And nobody else, boggling my mind, nobody else brought a radar detector. So we started going, and we were blitzing along at X amount. And all of a sudden, Pat and Rowan, the camera guy, he was
Rowan. Yeah, Rowan was in with me. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, we see this other guy behind us, and we're cruising at a buck, whatever, through the desert, whatever. So we stop, and I was like, well, we'll probably end up being friends. And so we kind of hung together the entire time.
That's right.
Speeds at 160, 70, 80 miles an hour, right?
Yeah.
Just, you would never get away with that today.
On private roads, clearly.
On all private roads, closed roads. But
closed roads.
It was amazing. And then Pat and I, we stayed in contact, and then became great friends, and then decided to create the House of Muscle together. That's right. So we created the House of Muscle that was on Motor Trend, and then subsequently went to our own channel and started doing that. And we still have episodes that we're doing. And just friends over cars, motorcycles, food, you name it. So, but then, Pat calls me, he goes, I'm going to buy Petrolicious. And I was like, really? And that's how this, and again, for those who don't know, Pat is kind of like the purveyor of the automotive brands. Like if you look for somebody to say, okay, well, how do I build this brand into X and get it from point A to point Z and cover everything in between, he's the guy you call. So that's why I think it was so great that you were able to come on and talk about Petrolicious. And I still want to talk about it in regard to, so what do you see Petrolicious as turning into now? Like, what are your goals for the brand? Where do you want to see it go, and so on?
Well, I mean, obviously the big concern from people who like Petrolicious now is that it's going to change and become something terribly different. And so there's a lot of people, when I put a little statement up on Instagram saying, hey, look, welcome to 2.0. It looks exactly the same as 1.0 at the moment, but there's going to be a few changes. And here's the thing. No one likes change, particularly in the classic car space. It's like, no, we know what we like. Just keep doing that. Don't tell me anything I don't want to know.
Right.
So there are going to be change, but they're all going to be really good, I believe.
Okay.
Because I think, this is a brand that's been waiting for this to happen to it. It's been very tightly curated, very nicely curated. There's an awful lot of opportunity in it, but now it's time for it to really flourish and grow up and spread its wings and really become everything it's wanted to be for maybe the last 2 or 3 years. So obviously the middle of it is the films. That's the thing that you come to Petrolicious and everyone goes, oh my God, the films are gorgeous. And they are gorgeous. And we're lucky to have this amazing network around the world of amazing filmmakers who want to work with us. So that's going to continue. And actually we're basically going to create the Petrolicious studio where other people can come and we'll make shows for them as well. Yeah. Because lots of people want to come and work with us and shoot with us and stuff like that. So the idea is that we'll be a central sort of center of excellence for filmmaking and TV and content making. So we're going to resource that. There's going to be a massive announcement on that if that happens. There's some really amazing things bubbling on that. I'm really quite excited about it. Big news on that. Okay. The next bit is obviously the website, which God bless it. It does its job, but you can't advertise on it. There's no advertising allowed on that website. So it's like
Really?
No, none. Which makes it for a viewer fantastic. An ad-free experience. It's like, this is free content. I don't have to look at any ads at all. I can look at these gorgeous cars and films and God knows what. And so that's got to change. But one of the key changes is that we're going to start the marketplace function up again. And that's obviously, we're talking today. One of the reasons is and basically in each of the disciplines that we do, we want to have like the OG partner in everything we do. So in auctions, in classic cars, it's Hemmings. Hemmings is the one. And so, of course, you and I know each other. So we're going to reopen the marketplace, and it's going to be powered by Hemmings. So we're going to have the Petrolicious marketplace with all of its gorgeous looking content and stuff, and a curated marketplace powered by Hemmings. So we'll be partnering with Hemmings on that going forward, which I'm super excited about. And that's going to be amazing.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about, because Petrolicious brings such an amazing group of cars that, as I want to say Americans per se, we just don't see that much of, right? So if you're talking about like Delta Integrales, or you're talking about these one-of-one Ferraris or different Fiats, or these obscure kind of Bugattis, or these, I think Petrolicious is probably one of the few brands that has the reputation and the access to get some of the greatest cars in the world, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree. We've got, that's one of the things that's really staggered me since I've been inside the bubble. Just in terms of the access to things like that, the people we know, the people who know us, and the people who want to interact with us because they trust us, right? So they trust the brand. I'm going to give you my car. You're going to shoot it. You're going to make a beautiful film. You're not going to crash it. You're not going to drive it across a field and make a viral video of it or something, whatever, that kind of thing. But that's one of the great privileges of it. And within that, that's something, it's a good point, is that we have a membership base, which again was a sort of fairly new idea to start off with, but this is going to become the real center of Petrolicious, that you join, it's not like subscriptions are all very well, but they're not very, you can put them up, pick them up, put them down. Whereas a membership, you're investing more emotion in it. You're saying, I'm joining this, I'm becoming a member of this experience. So really want to enrich that. And I've got a lot of thoughts about how we're going to do that, really add value to becoming a member of Petrolicious. What's amazing is that we've been adding members throughout the last 6 weeks. People are just sort of like, I was thinking, I don't want to look at this number, and it's going up, and we're adding numbers across the board. Instagram followers are back up again. We're adding people on YouTube. We're adding people across the board, which is really good to see. So it's just like, get back to doing what we're good at, but then really expand it a bit more. So really excited with all this. Yeah. But then events we're going to do.
Can people still, if people want to submit their cars, I know you're still going through your due diligence and kind of just seeing what is what. Are you taking submissions for Petrolicious right now, or is that kind of on hold? Or if somebody does want to submit a car to Petrolicious for a film, how would they go about doing that?
There is a mechanism for doing it. However, I would say give us another couple of weeks. Because we're working through, people didn't stop. And basically, if you think this was like a car that you parked in a field with the engine running and then walked away for 6 weeks. I got you. Just sort of died, right? So all the fluids are down, everything's down. So we're going through the car, reanimating it. So but people kept sending, requests and stuff like that. And very, very, very vibrant back end on all our social media, as you know. It's a lot of people submitting all sorts of things every day. We maybe get 10, 15 submissions a day.
Do you really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no,
so
it's insane.
Is there any one car as the owner of Petrolicious right now that you're like, I really want to get my hands on? You've driven, I know this, that you've driven just about everything on the market, old and new. Is there anything that you haven't driven that you're like, I've always wanted to get behind the wheel of that, or I've always wanted to see it? Or
yeah, that's a good question, Mike. There's loads of cars. There's race cars. There's like racing Porsches, like those 917s. That's got to be like the trip. That's got to be the trip with that kind of power and that thing. I would kind of like to have one lap in one of those. That would be kind of fun. Maybe two. But Yeah, in terms of racing cars, in terms of production cars, I don't know. I mean, I'll come back to you on that. I'll come back to you on that. There's nothing that's right at the front of my mind. Again, because I've been spoiled. I have been spoiled.
Yeah.
With all of
well,
stuff.
that's the thing. We were talking about this, and Dan and I are going to talk about this. But as journalists, right, we do kind of get spoiled. Like I this is going to sound so, I don't know how to say this without sounding like an ass, but like in my garage right now, I have a $201,000 Mercedes AMG GTR, right? And it's a press car. And what happens is, and Dan had the GTC a couple of weeks ago. It's, you know, we get these vehicles to drive and we get them to test. And I don't want to say you get jaded, but you kind of do, right? Because to everybody else, they're these unicorns, and to us, we're just like, all right, let's go and look at the facts and see what they really do and how they perform. So
yeah, I mean, what it does is makes me want to buy more of my own. If you drive, I think the problem is if you drive a press car, and you think, man, this is amazing. I want one, but I've just run out of garage space. So
yeah, well, that's dude. We're
Petrolicious is coming into that, man. Petrolicious, we're going to get into car storage and clubhouses and all that kind of good stuff. You watch. So yeah, definitely getting into that because everyone's got the same problem. No storage.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
So listen, I mean, you know, I have a warehouse. Dan has a warehouse. You know, it's. But the thing that cracks me up is that you have a nice collection of stuff that's very eclectic. So I'm going to throw this out there, and your daily drive, Dan. What do you think Pat drives every day? This is my favorite.
What do I think Pat drives every day? Oh,
yeah. Man. So talking to Pat, what do you, as a Brit, okay, living in California, what do you think Pat's daily driver is every day?
Okay, so let's see. An Englishman on the West Coast living in California.
This is my favorite.
Boy, this is going to be a good one. Let's see. I'm gonna take a wild stab at this. A wild stab. I'm gonna say he drives. I'm gonna say like a 72 Coronet. Is that true? Am I right?
You're not right, but you're sort of you're at least not the obvious choice, like an Aston Martin or a Jaguar or something.
See,
like that.
I was going to go down that. Yeah, I was going to go down that road. I was like, no. This is a trick question. You know, I'm going with the Coronet.
No, I drive a 2004 Lightning.
You know, I was just about to say Ford truck, too. I was going to say Ford truck. Dang it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's a 2004 Ford Lightning. I've got a 78 Bronco.
Oh, I love that truck.
I heard about your Bronco.
It's cracking.
It's really
so
good. That truck
is it the chromatic or the freewheeling package? Oh, it's brown.
Yeah.
Wait, brown, is it the cinnamon brown?
Yes.
Oh, same color as my 74 F350. Oh, I like this.
It is actually. Except it has the inset.
Yeah, you got the insert.
Is it white or is it like a beige almost?
Cream.
It could be white. Cream.
Yeah.
Look. But the nice part about Pat's truck is that all the right upgrades have been done. Like it's got the proper, I think it's 15 by 8.5-inch wheels that, you know, kind of deep dish with a nice set of BFGs. It's got a transplanted 460 with EFI, with air conditioning. I've driven this truck and it's like, and I have a Bronco, like I've got a 96 Bronco. And the one thing that my Bronco doesn't have is that 460. That thing hustles.
It does. It actually bends the speedometer needle because it's
awesome.
Whack.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's pretty good. But then Philip, the guy I bought it from, is a friend of Mike and I. He said, he said, real easy. You could put different heads on that thing. We can get it to 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
So I have to do that now.
Right. Obviously.
Now that you're aware of that, you have to do it. Yeah.
Of course.
Like, because it doesn't have enough power. No, of course not. 500. But those are the ones that have to live on the street at the moment, unfortunately. I've got a 2-car garage, and one of them is the Demon that Mike and I bought on the House of Muscle.
House of Muscle Demon, right?
House of Muscle Demon. So it lives here. Drove it yesterday, looking good. And I have a 991.2 GT3. It's so good.
It's so good.
So I've got something for every occasion.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the GT3, I feel like, and you know, we've talked about this. Like when somebody says, "Well, I'm going to buy a sports car," the answer is always 911, right? Just go buy a 911. It'll be the best car you've ever had, regardless of the version you want. Buy one. They're brilliant. They're all good.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I mean, Pat and I, we also share kind of a love of motorcycles, and so we go kind of back and forth. Like I'll send Pat a picture and I'm like, all right, what do you think of this? He's like, that's crap. Look at this. Or what do you, he'll send me something and vice versa. And this is the beauty of having car friends. It's like, Dan, if I wanted to buy a 32 something, you would get the picture and be like, that is not what you want.
Yeah. Right.
You need this,
yeah.
You know,
you don't know what you're talking about. You need this. Right.
No. And so I think it's in this hobby, it's so important to have friends that, you know, kind of span you need friends in every facet, right? You need your off-road contingent. You need your sports car contingent. You need your motorcycle contingent. You need a hot rod contingent, right? And if you want to get really crazy, you need your boat side as well. That's
boats. Yeah, boats. Cool. Yeah. I don't want to get, I know if I go down that rabbit hole,
yeah,
that's going to end badly.
That's just a hole in the water you dump money into.
Right.
Well, dude, but Stoner's got a kick-ass flat-bottom drag boat with a V-drive.
Oh,
that's
really,
it's terrifyingly cool.
Yeah, with a 390 in it, with an Ilda, you know.
Of course.
Right, which is sort of rare, but those boats, you know, those were basically just hot rodders down in your area, down in Southern California, who were already out there drag racing, and they're like, you know what we should do? We should do this on the water because that's smart. You know, and so it's
the 10-year-old boy again, isn't it?
That's right. It's the 10-year-old boy. And they're like, what we should just do is bolt this same. Yeah, we'll just take this motor out of this front engine fueler. We're gonna bolt that to a slab of fiberglass. Maybe it'll float, and we'll just see what happens. You know, that's that mentality. You know, so yeah, 10-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. What about planes? Have you got a plane as well?
No, thank God. No.
They terrify me, dude. I would not. I wouldn't trust myself to fly a plane. I would trust me.
The boat,
are you kidding?
The boats are bad enough because, like, you know, on the street you wreck a car racing, and you know there's, depending on what you're driving, you got a certain amount of chance of survival. On the water, if you do the same thing racing, and I've done it, the added insult is you could drown after you wreck. Yeah. You know, with an airplane, I can't even imagine, like, I don't know, fall 15,000 feet. I don't know. But, right. It's just the added insult, right?
Yeah, you finished. You got no shot.
Yeah,
no shot.
Yeah. My latest obsession is a side by side, and
that's fine.
I've got no use for it whatsoever.
No
one does. It hasn't stopped me go to the dealership twice.
Right, and you're going to you will dump as much money into a set of, you know, custom aluminum 5-spoke American racing wheels for that side by side as you will for your Lightning. You know, you'll have 30 grand in that thing before you even blink an eye.
30. Well, I've seen, dude. I've got a neighbor who's got one that's got to have 70, 80 grand in these things.
I'm amazed.
Side by side.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a 4-seater, but he's got like King shocks on it. It's been souped up. He's got different turbos. I'm like, what? Where are you going with this? That's fine. Like where?
Hey Pat, 10-year-old boy. 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, right. The thing is, that's all you need to say from now on.
10-year-old boy.
10-year-old boy.
I recognize
that's the whole hobby.
I recognize that behavior. Again, we're obsessive. We have 10 of the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. It all makes so much sense now. It all makes so much sense. Yeah.
So not 11-year-old and not 9.
No, that's 10. Right. Preteen, you know, but not 9 years old anymore. Like you're basically in 5th grade. You're in 5th grade. You know, if you're our age, you're sitting down Saturday nights after your weekly bath watching Hee Haw, you know, and everything just is informed by that decision, you know.
That's right.
So Pat, let me ask you. So with all that you've done in kind of the entertainment side of stuff, right? With television, with different brands and things like that, you know, you look at the current crop of automotive programming. What is there something that you haven't seen? Is there a niche that you've always kind of wanted to fill, or kind of a niche in this space that's underutilized that you look at and you're like, I don't understand why, like people might have tried, but they've just missed the boat on it. You know, like what do you see as the future of automotive space? I should ask.
Simply, it's not necessarily a style thing. I think it's more a platform thing. So it's like making content for a specific platform. Like, you know, you could say 50% of all content or more is looked at on phones. Yeah, it's all actually, you know, created for TVs most of the time. So if you actually said, no, let's create this for mobile, make mobile content version of automotive content, which I may or may not be working on something like this. So, so it's a timely question that I think if you do it in a way, and also the attention span, you're like 30 minutes, no, you know, 5 minutes or less. And again, you know, look at the things that get consumed over, you know, over anything else. It's these clips. Right. Just clips, loads and loads of clips. Just bits, it's moments in time because people are just rushing through, looking at stuff. I mean, I love a long form program, but I actually think some of the Grand Tour things, they're actually too long now. They're like 90 minutes. I just watched the last one in Vietnam. It was just kind of, it was better at 45. You know, a tight 45.
Yeah, well, you're basically watching a movie at that point.
Yeah, it's a movie. Right. Yeah.
And it was just kind of too much. And again, I love it all, but it's sort of like, can you have too much of a good thing? I think, you know, just getting it tighter edited and just basically getting it all done. I think that's it. But in terms of actual, I mean, everything's been tried. Pretty much everything's been tried. We've had fastest car, stunt car. I think that Charlize Theron show is one of the best ones on TV right now.
Hyperdrive.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew Comrie Picker, ACP, he does all the stunt arranging.
Yep.
Yeah. I met Andrew. Yeah, he's good. He's a good dude. We actually consulted for that show a couple of years ago. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually had Afshin consult with us on that, which is funny.
Really?
Yeah.
What could he possibly add on that? Just
it was mainly just a quick semi-deep immersion experience for the production company. Just like, okay, tell us about cars. What are these things all about? What do you do with them? What are their limits? Can they fly? Can you dunk one in the water? Can you pull it back out of the water? Will it float? Will they not float? You know, it was those kinds of questions. And it's like, what else can you do with a car? So it was really this immersion trip, and they needed to do it quickly, as a production company would, right? To learn as much about these things as possible before they jumped into pre-pro. Yeah.
It was great. I thought it was really well done. Like really
fun show.
Well done.
Yeah.
Right?
Fun show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the right guy won.
Yeah.
It was all I thought that was done extremely well.
Do you think the general public has any idea of the production on that as far as what things cost to get done?
Oh no. Or cares. They don't care about it. You know, it's just basically that is the brilliant bit of TV, because you're watching it for so many reasons. They have lots of great human stories, background stories. They had product stories for the car guys. They have all the smash it up for the kids. They've got the scenery. You know, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant show. Brilliant show.
Hey, Pat, 10-year-old boy.
10-year-old. There you go.
10-year-old boy.
Yeah. Exactly. The 10-year-old boy came out with a TV show. It would be jumping cars, right?
It would be jumping cars.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Blow them up. Blow them make things blow up every 5 minutes.
So all right. So we've been going for about almost 40 minutes. Let me ask you this, Pat. So two final questions. Okay. What is your automotive unicorn? Okay. So the car that if you could go out and purchase, and I don't care if you just want to put it in your living room and stare at it, or you want to drive the hell out of it. Okay. What is your automotive unicorn? And also, in regards to Petrolicious, right? Where do you see it in, let's say, 3 years? That's a big question. So let's go unicorn first.
Okay. Well, I mean, the unicorn of the moment is a Lamborghini Jalpa or a Countach.
Really?
A Countach 5000. Yeah. I've just got it just is very much, it feels very much of the moment, even though I just love the way it looks. I've been looking at black ones with gold wheels, and I'm obsessed with gold wheels right now. And that's got a reason to have them. And I think unicorns aren't necessarily supposed to be useful or anything. I think if I had that sitting behind me now, I'd be very happy. So
right.
That's probably my. But again, it's kind of achievable, I guess, in some way. So
right.
And then 3 years from now, I'll have that car in the Petrolicious office. So that's where I see
There you
Petrolicious
go.
3 years from now. So,
That's
but,
Fantastic.
but again, Petrolicious is going to get just bigger and bigger, I think, and just more involved, more engaged, more people, more inclusive. Again, it's just so good. Why keep it to a small number of people? Even though we've got a big audience now, I think we can really bring it to a really bigger audience. And we are the home of car passion. So
There you go.
If you're passionate about cars, there's something for you on here. That's what I think.
Good. Very, very good. Well, I know that, everybody out there, I would definitely expect to see more of Pat and Petrolicious and Hemmings doing some fun stuff together. We know that that's going to happen. Like I said, Pat is one of my dearest friends. We've done so much stuff together. Pat, thank you for coming on the barbecue. It's, like talking to my,
Awesome.
it's like talking to my brother.
Anytime.
And yes, I think we might have to have you back on in a few months and get some Petrolicious updates.
Anytime you like, give me a call.
Wonderful. Thanks, buddy. All right, we'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks,
Thanks, Pat.